What's up, you guys? Last video of the week, heading into round 2. I hope you all have got your trades set, and if you haven't, we've got some questions here to answer, and we also have 7 teams to go through today. One of our boys here, Matty, is from the private group. He has sent this in. These are one of the guys that, if you watched last year, put a lot of effort into there, and even left a space for my head in the corner there. I'm not sure if you can see that, but yeah. Plenty to talk about with this one, and we've got the 5 questions as well. So some good ones there. Options for Munster, best captaincy options, thoughts on trading out some of the guys that underperformed in terms of the cheapies, and then what to do with guys like Garner, Brandon Smith, these types of questions there. Do you trade Brandon Smith to a mid, if you potentially need a hooker or a half, for example, is the 2 positions there that might have a little bit of trouble next week with Cleary, and then potentially, when Tanner Boyd's out or Smithy's out and these types of players there. So plenty to talk about, and then hang to the end, guys. I might be making some trades, which I'm going to discuss at the end there. Okay, so we'll kick it off with our first team, Matty. The JBFAC FC. All right, he's got there. Kicking up the good work. Thank you very much. And Scoop beat him in his head-to-head. So unlucky, Matty. Well done, Lockie. What works? Safe gun mids. That was great. Yeah, obviously worked out well. Murray, Haas, Carrigan. No Grant, which didn't work out as well. The uncertain centres were not great. Miller worked for him. The edge cashies were great as well. Captain Cleary was okay for him. And then Isaiah Katoa, who got the 11. So that's that. Questions. Captain Hopgood this week. Stick with Cleary or go for the Pod Murray play? Let's answer that question now, which was which captain to go for. If you have Cleary, I'm personally going with him. I also think Murray is the second best captaincy option. Hopgood will be the third. I think there's a chance he drops down to about 60, 65 minutes. So just that little bit of uncertainty just has me a little bit worried just for him to go real big, where I think Murray and Cleary are the safest options. So Hopgood could come out and get a 75 or an 80 again for sure. That 82 is pretty ridiculous though. So Cleary could come out and get the 80, 90. Murray could do the same. He didn't play that great last week. Got the big minutes in the 80 and still scored 66. So I think they're the 3. Guys like Payne Haas, I would have next, and then Harry Grant following that. So that's that question in a nutshell. I think Hopgood's fine though, if you want to go with that. Either way is sweet with that. Is Isaiah Katoa really going to score much better, given the Dolphins are unlikely to get an easier game and O'Sullivan is taking all the stats? Yeah, I don't see him scoring too well for a little while, but if the Dolphins happen to continue playing all right, I think they can do a good job. He can then build into a season there, which would be ideal. But at the moment, I don't see him making plenty of cash across this first bunch of weeks anyway. So if you want to trade him out, that's completely fine. Should I hold Stags even if he has a good chance of dropping another 20k this week and I have the cash to upgrade to a safer center? Just think with Stags, you bought him in for a reason. He's got the clear run all the way through to round 15 there. Had a really tough game with a HIA and dealing with cramps. So really not exactly ideal. And I think that he can bounce back very easily this week or the next bunch of weeks. You could come out and get you a 60 or 70 and you'd hate it if you traded him out, where you go to a safer center and they are going to average that same amount probably anyway. So that's that there for sure. Same question for Alamotti. He's definitely a slight worry just with how the Dogs are playing, but I think he's going to be a bit of a slow burn cash cow. It might take him a few weeks to score okay. He did make 1k last week, so we're making money, but I think we can slow it down. So with him, he's going to have a slower start, and then we'll build into some price rises and stuff along the way as we go with him. Possible trades: Isaiah Katoa to Bryce Cartwright, Alamotti to Isaac Thompson. He does have the 120 in the bank, which is lovely, obviously. Stags to Bird Farmworth. I'm going to leave that to Stags one. Boyd to Ilias. Solely for a cash grab? No. If someone asks this to go Boyd to Ilias, I think they can average the same. Boyd probably could average a little bit more than Ilias, but not exactly sure. But obviously, Ilias had a cracker start. Boydie was just solid. I think they can average about the same, so it's a bit of a waste, that one. You can only really afford to make one of these. Could also hold next week to give them another chance. We'll miss out on big price jumps from Cardi. I think going Isaiah Katoa to Cartwright is just the simplest option here. It also gives you another guy to play if you're interested in him. Trindle's obviously another option. It sounds like maybe Cleary back round 5, but it could be 3, 4, 5. I'm not exactly sure. He said he's trying to get back for next week, so could be 3, 4, or 5. I'm not exactly sure. But team's looking fine, man. Got the exact same score as me, so it's pretty funny there with that one. We'll move on to the next squad, but firstly, let's answer another one of those questions. So, do I bother trading Garner or Smith? And if I should, who do I bring them in for? I would trade Garner if you have that option. Down to Cardi, you've got Liero, you've got Ford, you've got Katoa, for example. All of those guys could be great trade-ins. Obviously, Ilias is a bit of a match for match in terms of price. I think they're all solid ones as well. You can go down to a real cheapie, save some cash for next week, or you can go Smith up to a top gun in that hooker position. Something like that. Up to you, depending how much cash you have in the bank. Okay, move back to the next one. Edrick Lee. Good one here. Good score last week, 849, and had Tino on his side as well. So very well done to score really well there. Tino, I think, is a definite hold, man. He could bounce back with a 65 like he did in the back end of last year. Brandon Smith, do we sell him to make cash? Yeah, potentially. I'm not too stressed with that. There's a lot of discussions I've been having with guys in the private group, and a lot of smart guys in there. They're just talking about Smithy, obviously, with all the mid drama as well. Radley, Logie being out, no Takiaho this year. Warrior Hargraves is obviously going to have his issues with his back and stuff. There's a great chance that Smithy just splits time in the hooker position and the middle. Could be like a 30-30 split. You've got Turpin there to come in. He's got a rib injury coming off a HIA. There's so many things to think about with Smithy. Can he come out and score a try this week if he plays and get a 55-60? Definitely. But I think it would be okay as well to move on from him also. And that's going to bode into one of the other questions there that we need to answer. And that's, this one here, number 4. So Ali'i and Brandon Smith to Thompson and Tohu. So, or just should I just hold as the Roosters have the Warriors? Yeah, that definitely helps. But they also just, were that bad last week, and they can't be that bad again. I'm personally holding to Ali'i and Smithy. I'm not sure if I'm going to hold at this point. I'm making a decision. My team still has no trades in at the moment. But with this one there, you need to make sure that you have cover in that hooker position and the halves position. Because for hookers next week, for example, let's just look at the team we've got up there. If you have Grant, awesome. You'd have Tanner Boyd as your cover. But what are you going to have next week with Cleary? Do you have enough cover for half position with Cleary there and having Boyd cover that position? If you trade Brandon Smith, do you have a half? In this case, you have Katoa in this one, but other guys, you might not have the cover. So look forward to next week. And then also the Roosters in round 4, Titans in round 5, you have to think about as well with Tanner Boyd having his bye then. So definitely lots to think about regarding that. So if you have plenty of cover, then those trades would be okay. Obviously, you get Thompson, that bit cheaper, who's going to be semi-consistent, maybe a 30 average or 35 average max. I'd say over this first period with how tough their draw is. And then you've got Tohu, who's going to do his thing in average, sort of a 60 maybe, is our kind of plan with him. So, look, it'll be okay. I don't think it's a necessary one. If Smithy's out, then you could launch into that trade. But you might not know in time for that game on the weekend. But that's that. Okay, let's get into this side. Play Sloan. I wouldn't be playing Sloan. I'd 100% play Blore over him. But Cartwright, Smith, Fast Little Malawi and Boydie, all great plays before Sloan. We're worried about him getting a 30 or like a 10. Don't have center cover at this point. That is a slight issue. So I'd be looking to update your centers, to be honest with you, before I would look to update anywhere else in this one. I want to get rid of Talau because of the injury concerns and his score. He had cramps, man, so don't worry too much about that. Should be okay. He didn't look like he could even run that second half. So he should improve against a slightly lesser side this week in the Dragons. No, they don't play the Dragons, do they? Who does? Anyway. Trade options. Tino and Talau. No. Yeah, just hold Tino, man. It's one bad game. He hasn't scored a 29 in a long time. So avoid that one. Talau and Martin to Thompson and BMM. Yeah, look, that trades out Talau, but you don't improve your center situation in terms of cover. Smith and Talau to Sutton and Thompson. Again, okay. If you want to do that, that would be okay. Tino to Carrigan, nah, it seems very sideways. They're about the same price there. So, yeah, I think you either just hold this week. Hopefully the centers don't go okay, and you can make a decision next week because you're super low in price on your centers and your wing fullback. So that's a position I'd like to improve first before anything else. Okay, move to the next one there. Overall score 781, so not a great start here either. If I do Garner to Cartwright, I will have 178k to spend. I think that's a great trade. Is Talau trade out if he shows more injury signs? Potentially, but it's just cramps, man. Makatoa, I think you trade him out before anyone else. There's no guarantee on his minutes this week. I think he'll play, definitely, but is it going to be 20 minutes? Like, if he got 0 last week, is it going to be 20 this week? Captain Grant, I think, is going to be fine. Hopgood, Cleary, all good options. Grant's got a try right at the end. Will he do that again? I'm not exactly sure. Who will remain most consistent this year? Guys like Cleary are going to be most consistent, along with Haas. Grant's a little bit more 45 than 75, that type of thing. Should we be worried about Smithy? Yeah, I think so, definitely. definitely worries there, but if you trade him now or not is okay. So if you went Makatoa up, you could straight swap him to a different cheapie. You've already got. Have you got Cartwright? You're going to say Cartwright, yeah. Duries, for example, could be someone that's going to make a slower amount of cash. You can go up to, 178k. You could go straight up to, like, Lockie Ilias, for example. That would be an interesting one. You'd have 0 in the bank then. But, the one trade is okay as well. And then wait for a better option. Or you can go one of those cheapies for Makatoa and load up on, cash available over the next few weeks. We'll get to Rebels Raptors, who had a cracking start with 871. But we will get to another one of these questions there. Thoughts on trading Isaiah Katoa to Ben Murdoch-Masila? Worried about Katoa failing to generate cash and want to jump with someone whilst they still have the chance. BMM, we haven't seen play yet in first grade properly in this kind of spot for a while. So, look, I think he's a good trade-in. I started with him. That worked out well. Isaiah Katoa, I think, is going, as we said, is going to probably not make a hell of a lot of cash over the next bunch of weeks. So that trade is completely fine. I'd also be okay if you wanted to wait and see what happens for Ben Murdoch-Masila. And if he's a chance to average 40 or something like that, then you just literally go to that straight away. Obviously, cash in your bank is going to be a slight worry, as Katoa can't go much lower than where he's at the moment, but I still think that's completely fine. If you're going to make that one trade this week, you can lock that in. Okay, move to Rivelo's Raptors. So, had the good week. Can definitely hold trades, but a few players of interest. Not sure if it's worth a trade or going Blore/Talau to Cardi, as Blore will likely lose his spot soon and his money-making potential is pretty much over. Wow. Why is his money-making potential over? He literally lost 6k. His break-evens in the low 20s, man. If he comes out and gets a 40, he's going to make 15, 20k and have a really low break-even. So I do understand what you're talking about, but there's still every chance that Bateman's not going to be back for another couple of weeks, and you're probably kicking yourself if he actually plays good minutes this week and kind of stuffs you around. So I can definitely see the theory, but how are you going to get Cardi? Can you get him another way? Look, I think you can. Can you get up to him from Alamotti? Probably not. Yeah, okay. So I think that's why you want to go Blore. Do you have centre cover? No, so you can't go Talau. If it's the only way, man, if it's one trade you're going to make, then that's also fine. But yeah, there's the idea of Smith to Bird. I think you can wait a week on Birdie. Like, he's just coming off an injury, and how's he going to play from ball one? Is he going to get the 80 minutes? So many question marks, and he's obviously a very versatile guy. And you have Thompson and Remus Smith, so you're not too stressed in terms of your center position, and you've got a little bit of money and win fullback as well. So yeah, great week, man. Well done. Okay, let's move to another question, and it'll be the last one, I believe, isn't it? Yeah, best options for Munster. Okay, that's going to be a good one to talk about. So obviously DCE not available. That would have been a really nice straight swap. You could wait. You could trade Munster for a cheaper guy if you wanted to, a cash cow. Or something. Make sure you have cover in that half position where the Boyd can come in, and then you could bank all that extra cash, and then next week you can go one of the cheaper guys or an injury or something like that to DCE. I think that would be strong, because obviously Cleary you don't want to pick up this week with a buy in round 3. Hines is out, so they're the top 2 guys, and then you're really making decisions between like Mitch Moses and Jamal Fogarty, Sam Walker who has a buy in a couple of weeks. So there's no clear straight swap with guys that have buys in the next few. If you don't own Dewey, then pick up Dewey. I think that's the safest one. But other than that, you can downgrade him and then upgrade next week. If you want to do that with an injury or a guy that's struggling a bit, you'll have enough cash to be able to do that. So that's all the questions for this week. And now we'll get through those teams and then maybe a little bit of chat around my squad. Okay, 8.55 in this first one for Stroke of Genius. What a name. Worth holding Cheese. Yes and no. We spoke about him already. Up to you with that. Cleary, Hopgood, other captaincy. Yep, we spoke about that as well. Best 4 for interchange. So in this group of here, I think the 4 that you've got is going to be perfect. Blory, Warbrick, solid options as well. You've obviously got Drinky, Miller, Nickel Klugstar. So I think, you don't play Warbrick over those 3. Shame that you might not be able to play him though, that's for sure. Okay, Blory is probably the only chance. If there's an injury or something happens, then Blory I'd put into the 4. How to deal with upcoming Roosters and Panthers buys? That's a great question there. Okay, you don't have the Harry Grant either, so you'd be having Boyd in your hooking position for that week, and you don't have any cover for that half and hooker other than him. So that's something that maybe you need to look to over the next few weeks. Guys like Sonny Luke in round 4 could work if he gets some bigger minutes. You could go to guys like Brayley. You got Marnie. There's Wade Egan. There's those types of guys you can get at that price point. So I think over the next 2 weeks, just make sure that you're thinking about your halves cover and thinking about your hooker cover there for sure. But other than that, well done last week. Okay, Option 1, no trade. See how round 2 goes. Yeah, for sure. It's a good option. Option 2, out Smith and Alamotti in Hamaso Tabiai took me a second. I haven't seen it written like that before. And Thompson, so that would bring in 2 centers to go along with, who would be trading out? Smith and Alamotti. So we'd end up having 4 available centers, which I think is a bit too many. I think only one of them is fine. You get a little bit more cash in the bank, strengthens the center and wing fullback. Does that mean you'd play one of them in the fullback position? Let me know on that. Obviously, that would lengthen it out a bit in terms of you got 2 guys to cover center and wing fullback instead of just the one. Look, it's okay, but you're probably dropping points this week. I'd say Smithy plays that you'd expect a 45 or 50 potentially with some attacking stats. So that's that. Starting 17 after trade, wing fullback, he would be down there. You've got Thompson in center, Jay Ford in the mids. Yeah, okay, that would be fair. And then you'd play Murdoch Masilla, maybe, or it would stick the same. Yeah, wouldn't be too crazy. Emergency Tommy Talau, emergency Tamati Martin. Okay, he would come into that. Cool. Had a nice score, 874 last week, 821 overall rank. Pretty cool, 6K in the bank. So, look, you could hold pat. You could do one of those, but I think maybe either holding or going for that would be okay. But I don't think it's a home run. 2 trades, and is it worth just holding if it's not really a home run? I would say so. Okay, let's move to number 13 here. When should I trade for a premium hooking option over Cheese, Grant, Robson, etc.? I definitely think round 4 at the latest could be the play to do it, just with how good those scores have been, especially in round 1. Okay, the rest of the guys are looking at Turbo or Risk. Thoughts on him? Nah, keep him, man. This week off's going to be good for him. He'll come back. The team looks pretty good, so we know what happens when the team looks good. He comes out and dominates. So, yeah, very keen to see how he goes. You've got Schuster in your team, man. That's the guy that needs to go. So you got 500k to burn. You could go for an Ilias straight up if you want another half. You also have Katoa in there. You have Tanner Boyd. Maybe you try and spend a little bit of extra cash to get a decent hooker eventually. Maybe Schuster can be downgraded to a cheapie guy. Brandon Smith can go up to a hooker if you want to go to Robson now. You can go Schuster down to a 200-something K guy and then use that 240, 235 that we'll need to get up to a Robson if you want to go Schuster down and then upgrade there. That's definitely an option. You don't have... Who do you got? You got Cartwright. I don't know if you can go Dury. Would that give you enough? I think that would just give you enough. If you went down to Dury, for example, and then upgraded Brandon Smith to Robson, I think that's a pretty safe idea. I wouldn't be holding Schuster, man. He's a bit too expensive, so that's that. To'o, if he underperforms again, we'll have to see what happens next week. I think you're definitely going to hold him this one. If you make that trade that I'm talking about, then... you've got Tommy Turbo in there. To'o can go to anyone in the middles. For example, you've got some cover down below with Warbrick. To'o could go to like a Ryan Sutton, that type of player there. You have Trent Leoro, correct? No Leoro? Yeah, maybe he's another guy you could look to target as well. So, Trent Leoro. See how that goes. All right, that is the last of those. Okay, just in terms of my team, guys, I had just did my video, spoken about not rage trading certain guys. I'm just trying to look at all the positives and negatives with Brandon Smith. I think Suoli'i I'm just clearly holding this week. I'm not too stressed about Isaac Thompson as a trade in this week. He's not going to make a lot of money. I'm also very aware that how important cash generation is over this first few weeks. So Cartwright I really want in my side, but I just didn't feel like trading Suoli'i and Preston, for example, guys that could both score well and or make money with Preston and maybe a little bit Suoli'i over the first few weeks. I didn't think it was worth it making those trades. Brandon Smith, I was like, oh, what do I do? How do I if I'm trading him out, I need to get another hooker or another half. And I just wasn't really thinking too much about still the mid-range. And we've obviously got Lockie Ilias this week as a potential option. And how I'm looking at it, if I was to trade Brandon Smith to Ilias, it gives me enough to go Preston up to Cartwright. I would be making money on both Ilias and Cartwright, which is nice at this point of the year. Ilias, I'd be hoping for a 37 to a 40 type of score out of him on a regular basis. And Brandon Smith, just with so many worries about him moving back to the middle, which he didn't score very well last year for the Storm. The rib injury, they've got Radley out, Lodge, no Siwa Takiaho. There's a lot of things with Smithy and those Roosters. So I think that we could potentially move him on. If he comes out and gets a 50 and averages that over the next bunch of weeks, we get a few price rises out of him. And then round 4, I don't have him. And I think we want to eventually build up to a gun hooker option. So for now, it might be, Ilias so he can cover the half position next week when Cleary's out. And Boyd will just sit in my hookers, for example. And then I'll look to bring in a gun hooker, or at least we can watch for another week or two. the hooking stocks and see who we can pick up, whether it's Sonny Luke in round 4, whether it's going up to a gun somehow by trading Suoli'i after that first 3 weeks in round 4. I've got until round 5 to make that decision because Tanner Boyd, that's when he has his bye. So I need to have at least another hooker for that game. So it gives me 3 weeks to work that out. Whether there's injuries, whether there's 2 mid-rangers that have peaked and I can trade one down and one go up to a keeper. Suoli'i is going to be there as an option as well to trade out. So there's that. And then, Sonny Luke as the other option as well. So yeah, very, very interesting in that. I hope that helps you guys with your trade decisions this week, answering all those questions. So thank you for sending these teams in. As I said, it's going to be about 5 or 7 today, 6 from the normal and then 1 from the private group. But yeah, I'm going to try and do 5 questions and 5 of them each and every week. So if you want to get yours featured on here, send it straight after team list. So make your decisions around team list. Tuesday night is the best time to get those out there. And I wish you all the best of luck this week.